guys, welcome back to the 4th episode of the Tiger Pod podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah.
I'm your other host, Ashley, and we have a special guest with us. It's Congresswoman Shontel Brown.
Miss Shontel Brown, the best congresswoman in the land. The best congresswoman in the land.
Thank you.
And also, Happy Black History Month.
Yes, Happy
It's
Black
February.
History.
This month is about us. So, who else to have on February than Miss Brown, right?
Thank you.
So, I think you got the first question,
Yes,
right?
I know that you've already made history by becoming the first Black woman and woman to be the Cuyahoga County District Democratic Chairwoman.
You got it. Yes. That was 2017. So it feels like a long time ago. But yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we wonder though, how did you become councilwoman to congresswoman? How did that
Yes,
happen?
the journey.
The journey. Okay, I'm going to try to make a long story short. I often say it was divine intervention because when I first ran for city council, I thought that I lost that race. I was down by 6 votes when the polls closed. Yes, 6 votes. So every vote really does count. But let me just give you a little backstory. I decided to run for city council because I wanted to help my neighbors. At the time, I was the youngest homeowner on my street. And I wanted to figure out where we would go in the event of an emergency. As we know, with the climate crisis, natural disasters are occurring with more frequency and greater strength. And so I said to myself, where would I get this information if I wanted it? That led me to my city council meeting. So what I learned was there was some room for improvement. So rather than complain, I decided I was going to run. And like I said, when the polls closed on election day, I was down by 6 votes. But what I didn't know, there were 23 provisional ballots in the race. And I think this is important. If you've never heard of a provisional ballot, then let me tell y'all, a provisional ballot is a just-in-case ballot. So just in case you requested to vote early and maybe the ballot didn't show up, so you decided to go to the polling location on election day. Or so just in case you got married and you changed your name and your voter ID might not match up with the ballot, they'll give you a provisional ballot to vote. So there are different things that they use to implement these provisional ballots. And they don't count them on election day because they want to make sure you're not trying to vote twice. So maybe you even moved. Maybe you moved and you didn't update your address. You go to your old polling location. They'll give you a provisional ballot because they don't want to make sure you didn't vote at the new location and the old location, right? So 11 days later, they counted these provisional ballots. There were 23 of them. I went from down 6 to up by 7. So every vote, y'all, really does count. And that changed the entire trajectory of my life. I went from representing 1,500 people to my next elected office position was county council, and that was in 2014. And shout out to my deputy chief of staff, Kim Hodge Edwards, who is always by my side. She helped us win that race. It was much different than the first. There were 6 people. And we ended up getting 48% of the vote in that race. So
that's crazy.
That was yeah. So we went from being that started from the bottom.
Now we're here.
Okay. So that was my next step. And then my predecessor, Congresswoman Fudge, she's the one that tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I want you to think about running for party chair." And that was in 2017. We made history when I became the first woman and the first, as you said, the first Black person ever elected. Yes. And then 2021, timing, opportunity, and preparation is everything. The President Biden and Vice President Harris made the wise decision to tap our then Congresswoman to become the Secretary of HUD, a history maker in her own right.
Yes.
She was the first woman and first Black person elected to be mayor of the city of Lawrenceville. I'm so warmed up today. I came ready. We stay ready.
Y'all stay ready. Okay.
So she became the first mayor, but she said to me, "I want you to consider running for party chair." And then when the president tapped her on the shoulder and said, "We want you to become HUD," the seat opened up, and I was able to then defeat 12 people in a 13-way primary here in the 11th Congressional District to become the next Congresswoman. So it's kind of a long story, but I think it gives context because it's all about, again, timing, opportunity, and being prepared to rise when the occasion presents itself.
Yeah, it does. And I bet running for Congress is like your hardest race.
It was definitely my hardest race. My first race, there were 3 of us. My second race, there were 6 of us. And then Congress, there were 13 of us all together. And if you go back and look at that race, my closest competitor had national name recognition. She had more money than we did, but we had a strong ground game. And we have been developing relationships in the community that just catapulted me to a place called victory. And so I couldn't be more appreciative of the community putting their trust in me to be able to represent them, because in the entire history of Congress, there have been less than 60 Black women to serve in this esteemed office. Yes, and that's in its 200 plus year history.
Yeah, that's a testament to when you actually are doing the work, the people will listen.
Hey.
Yes.
Hey.
And so I know I have a lot of people that inspire me, and I think a woman that inspired me that in Congress, I think, is the great Shirley Chisholm.
Yes.
The first Black woman to ever be elected to Congress. And I want to ask you, who inspires you now? Who is someone that you draw inspiration from?
I love that you talked about Shirley Chisholm. If y'all hadn't seen the movie, check out
I
the
did see
movie.
the
Yes.
Regina King did her thing.
She
I
did her
loved it.
thing. Chisholm was a dope movie. And because of another great Congresswoman, Barbara Lee, who's now retired, but she represented California, she took me to Cincinnati to see part of the filming of Shirley Chisholm. So I got to see Miss Regina King in person before that movie actually was released. So that was an amazing experience. So folks like Barbara Lee, folks like Marcia Fudge, those are the people that I look to in this world. Joyce Beatty, another great from Ohio, representing the Columbus area. She's someone that I look to help me and guide me and help make decisions because they've been there, right? So we have to, I think it's important that we pay homage and respect to those that come before us. And we've got some new folks coming up the ranks, right?
Yeah.
I got to shout out Miss Jasmine Crockett.
I love
A lot of people love Jasmine Crockett, so that's my girl. Johanna Hayes. That's another one. Sheila Schifferless McCormick. I mean, we have Amelia Sykes right here in Ohio. We have some amazing new talent coming up the ranks, and we're building relationships and rapport with each other because we're the next generation. So, but shout out to those people who really established the foundation to be able for us to be able to do what we're doing right now. Cannot take them for granted.
Yes, and we know that they built your foundation, but the steps. Where do you plan on going next? What's your next
Oh, child.
Now this right here is my favorite question. I want to know. You're a Congresswoman. You are very young.
Oh, thank you.
You are very
Thank you,
young.
Matt.
You are very young, so you do have
Plenty of
time
time.
to the.
There's a
somewhere
runway.
else.
There's a runway, right? But listen, one of the things that I think has served me well is that I've never come to any political, especially as a public servant position, with an aspiration for the next stage.
Yeah.
As I told you in my first story, it's timing, opportunity, and preparation. The fact that there have been less than 60 women to serve in the position that I currently hold is gratifying to me. Like I mean, to be able to be the co-equal branch of government with this president and the Supreme Court justices, a little girl from the hood, like it means a lot to me. So I love that people would like to see, what's down the road. But I'm open to the options. I won't cut off any opportunities. But am I looking to be the next senator, the next vice president, or even the next president? No. But if timing and the opportunity and preparation all come together like they have in my life in the past, then if I get a chance to represent my community that way, I've never really backed down from a challenge. So.
Yeah. And I don't think you would. I mean, I would love to see you in some higher position because, yes.
Well, I appreciate that. But maybe, who knows? Because, we look at Secretary Fudge, right? There's cabinet positions. I don't know that that's something that I would necessarily want to do. I love being able to, from the position that we sit in, we have a lot of impact and influence.
Yes.
And so I'm grateful for that. So that's not lost on me. But I would say, there are a lot of people when they leave Congress, they go on to do things like working in law firms and becoming their own consultants. So the possibilities are endless.
They
But
really are.
so we're gonna keep our options open. How about that?
Yes.
Okay.
I know that. And so I'm gonna turn a little bit because this is about something that's going on in Congress that you might know about. So there's a woman named Kate Granger, and it's funny because she actually told me this. But I didn't know this was going on. But what's going on with Kate Granger? She's in a dementia hospital, and for 6 months she has not voted in 6 months. And it really is the question a lot of people ask about term limits, about people being in office for so long that, and it's on both sides of the aisle. It's not just Republicans. It's not just Democrats.
Even the presidency.
Right. Right.
Talk about it.
How do you feel about older people serving in Congress when they are, I don't want to say it, but at the end, and I don't want to say it like that, but yes, like, this is a really, really big discussion. Like, we have to talk about it. Like, it's serious.
I appreciate the question, Isaiah. So I would say sometimes folks ask, like, what do we think about having term limits and things like that nature? And I'm a person that, first of all, let me backtrack and acknowledge Kate Granger. She was an appropriations chairwoman, a historic figure in her own right. Served 30 years. I think she was the first woman elected to represent Texas. She's on the other side of the aisle, so I really don't have a personal relationship with her. And I'll be fully transparent. Like, it flew under the radar for us on the Democratic side because we're always monitoring our people's votes. Like, who, we check it for each other, like, where's so-and-so or did so-and-so vote? So it did not occur to me until this story hit the news as well, right? So the reality of the situation is that it shouldn't really be about age to me, but more about ability. We want people that can have the ability to show up and do the job and capacity and competence, right? So if there's some folks out here, some octogenarians, some folks in their 80s that's still going strong, like my good friend, Mr. Clyburn, you wouldn't know that he was like 80 something because I have a hard time keeping up with Mr. Clyburn sometimes. So it shouldn't really be about age, but really about ability. And then I would also say that when it comes to term limits, and perhaps there should be some greater transparency, maybe something that would really look into our health capacity. So maybe some disclosures around health, perhaps might be something that we should consider. But when it comes to term limits, the ballot box is the most powerful tool that we have.
Yes.
And the more people, because we're up every 2 years, and since I've been in office, there's been a lot of turnover. I tell people when I came in, I was 434 out of 435. The next year, I was 353. That means that many people out of 435, that many people left or retired or were retired by the people. So those are new people that I had to get to know in a year. I came in a special election. 2 years after that, I'm now 291 out of 435. So from 434 to 353 to now 291. That's a lot of people. So people are coming and going in the Congress because of people's participation or lack thereof. I believe that the more participation that we have, the greater impact and the more reflective Congress will be. Because the average age is like 60.
Yes.
That's wild.
I guess there's like a joke that if you're 16, you're a politician, you're relatively young.
Yeah, that's true.
You're relatively young because, especially in a federal elected office, that means
it's changing. It's changing.
And there's so many young people that's just trying to come up too. So how do you feel about that? Like, young people trying to get into these elected offices.
I love it. I love it. I think that you guys you bring new voice, right? And I think there's something to be said about institutional knowledge. So we're not trying to get rid of folks, right? Because the institutional knowledge that a Kay Granger, a Jim Clyburn, a Nancy Pelosi, a Steny Hoyer, those folks they have is valuable. But we also have folks with new voices. Again, your Max Frostwells, your Alexander Ocasio-Cortez, so those people, they bring some new and fresh ideas and new energy, and they engage other young people, get them activated. And really, for me, I just want to see more people engaged, regardless of age, but especially our young people, because you are the future, and the decisions that we're making are going to impact y'all the most.
Right.
So y'all need to be paying attention to politics, because if you're not into politics, let me tell you, politics is into you, okay?
Yes.
You think that relatability is also a factor? Because I know that someone who's 60 to 80 can't really understand what I'm going through, or relates to what I'm going through, or what I'm thinking, or the money I spent on just average day items. There's no way you can relate to that because you're from another time.
Well, I would say this is funny because when we are young, that is how we feel.
Yeah.
But as I get older, I hate to sound like the old person, but I'm the old person in the room. I'm like, baby, we all were young. So we do. So while we might not know the specifics, like we might not be up on, the newest thing, but we've all had those feelings. So we've all, what you're feeling, if it's anxiety, if it's being overwhelmed, if it's a feeling of insecurity, the desire to be accepted, like those are things that are universal and that we've lived through, right? And so I can remember back to when I was in high school and I had some insecurities about myself, and so might not seem like I can relate to you because now I'm a member of Congress, and to some on the surface it might look like I got it going on. But I remember I was a little scrawny girl in high school, and all the boys went checking for Shontel, you know what I mean? So I had to, for real. If you see my Instagram, I got some pictures out there from when I was in high school, okay? But it wasn't always what you see right now. So I get it, I do. And so I don't want our younger generation to miss the opportunity to tap into the wisdom of people who lived through what you're going through. Don't miss those moments because they can actually shed light on what you're going through and help you get through a difficult situation. So that's what I would say to that, because we always think that, oh, they don't understand, they don't know, but also I would have to tell you, my faith tells me that I'm a Christian. I believe in God. And so I believe that God has really designed the universe for us to rely on each other. And so those shared experiences, if you tell somebody, they can tell you how they went through it, and then you can be another testimony for when that next person comes behind you and experiences. So don't think that you're the only one. You're not the only one. And I can guarantee you, just as sure as I'm sitting here, somebody before you went through what you're going through, and they made it through.
It's fair. That is right.
Yeah, and I wanted to take, that was very nice, very deep. But I wanted to take a bit of a 180 and talk about something pretty big, something that's been going on for a while. The Palestinian Israeli crisis that's been going on, the genocide. This is one of my very own personal interests. I have a very close family friend who's Palestinian herself. She's inspired me to be a better person, to be louder, to be prouder, and I love her so much. And I think it's important that we talk about these things and talk about things that are going on and how the Palestinian-Israeli conflict has gone on since over a year, and it's just now ending. There's just now been a genocide, even though there's still some complications without that. At least there is one. And I wanted to ask about Al Green. After Trump's speech with Netanyahu, he had stated that he wanted to propose an impeachment based on that. What do you think about that?
I'm coming with these questions. So, first of all, I'm very, very pleased that the Biden-Harris administration was able to come to the ceasefire agreement, right, and to start to negotiate terms around the hostages being released. And I'm saddened by the 4 hostages that were released whose bodies came back, and how that is really the reality of how much peace is important, how it is important for us to find peace, to find conflict resolution. And this is a very complex topic. We talk about it from the perspective of October 7th, but this has been going on for so long. And so it's not an easy answer. And as it relates to my colleague Al Green, my focus is more on finding peace. But if there is anyone that has done anything to violate the laws, then we want to investigate that and hold them to account, right? And so I think that we need to focus on the people and restoration of that, the restoration of the community and the people who have lost so much, and how can we pour back into them? How can we get them to the place that they need to be to not only survive but thrive?
Yeah, and I kind of want to talk about something.
Okay.
The elephant in the country right now. Okay. So, I want to talk about Trump because ever since he got inaugurated, he's just been signing and signing away. He just been
the executive order's been off this nonstop, right?
Right. But he think he's doing something though by
They're really not, though.
Right. He think he's doing something with the executive
Talk
orders.
about it. Okay. Government classes coming through.
Because when you sign these executive orders, you kind of take away from the true meaning of like real like legislation is what you really need to combat issues. He thinks just putting his name on a piece of paper is going to solve the issue. Yeah. That's not what it is. But I want to talk about education because we're scholars, and what he wants to do to the Department of Education really affects us, especially because we're juniors. We want to go to college. We don't got money like that. You know what I'm saying?
No,
we don't got the dollar bills like some other kids might have. So, what are the Democrats planning to do when it comes to this situation of trying to combat with the Republican Party or the MAGA extremists when it comes to the Department of Education and when it comes to the funding? Because I read, and not so long ago, we actually read in class that there was a letter. It was a letter that was, I think, the Assistant Secretary of Civil Rights, Craig Turner. He made basically a plan saying that if educational institutions don't stop this DEI, all the programs that's going on with DEI.
And do we know what DEI stands
for?
Oh my
God, diverse, equity, and
inclusion.
Okay, all right. So we got to say it because when we throw out these acronyms, that gives them power over the narrative.
Yes.
But when we say diversity, equity, and inclusion, then people have to stop and think about what they're trying to dismantle. So I'm sorry, go on.
Yes. There's so much with the whole. I'm really tired of the DEI stuff. I'm diverse, equity, and inclusion because it's just a word that they're not using. They just throwing the word out.
Yeah.
And in the letter, he basically was saying that educational institutions have 14 days to basically eliminate those programs, or they're going to cut the federal funding of institutions who have those programs, which basically are programs like or schools like this.
Exactly.
Public schools
like this, who 99% of the population is African American.
That's right.
And I just want to know, like, what is the plan? I know you guys, the Democratic Party,
You're fighting.
We are definitely fighting, and so he can't just dismantle agencies. As much as he thinks that he can with the power of the pen. And the power of the pen of the executive can be mighty, but it also has to be used within certain parameters. And he has to follow the Constitution, whether he wants to terminate it or not. And he said that he did, but we're not gonna. That's not gonna happen. That's not an easy thing to do. Thank God. The founding fathers did at least project that, but I don't think that they anticipated that we would elect a 34 count convicted felon to office, right? And so there are things that he's currently doing that are being challenged in the courts, and I would just remind folks that this has to be an all hands on deck approach to stop what he is trying to do. It can't just be the Congress. It has to be the Congress, the court, and the community. So the Congress, we're going to do what we can to uphold the legislation and to introduce legislation to prevent him from doing that, writing laws. But we're also, in the midst of that, going to lobby. We lobby our Republican colleagues and say, hey, I have some Republican colleagues, and I will be very vocal about reminding them, I am a product of Cleveland Public Schools. I'm a product of this particular environment. And so do you think that it's okay to end the opportunities for people like me to be able to get an education? Because what we also have to bear in mind is Donald Trump and Elon Musk, their kids aren't going to public school. Right. So they don't care. They don't even they don't fly commercial, so they don't care about the FAA. So they're doing things that are very anti-Black, as you alluded to. And so because I know that I have been called for such a time as this to step into these spaces and places and make sure that we, when I say we, I'm talking about me, you, the people that look like us are represented, and that we not only have a seat at the table, but ensuring that we are not on the menu. So that is what I am going to make sure we do, not just because I am a Democrat, not just because I'm a Black woman, but just because it's the right thing to do. And I am very frustrated because we get a lot of calls about what can we do next. And so again, I talked about the Congress. We're going to legislate and lobby our colleagues, but I also want people to know that the courts have an important role, and thank God for them, because they have been upholding some of the guardrails, and no matter how much you may try to ignore it, we do know that federal judges, at least they are prideful about their work, so they're going to do their work. Lastly is the community, y'all. It can't just be Shontel Brown, one of 215 Democrats in Congress. You guys have an opportunity now to make your voices heard, whether it's calling, whether it is sending emails, writing letters, knocking doors. You have an opportunity to make sure that when these things are being proposed or introduced, that you speak up and speak out and say, not on our watch.
Yes, not on our watch, yes. And to, because I have been looking at these confirmation hearings about some of the people that he's been putting in these very, very high positions. And for me, it goes back to the diversity and equity inclusion. They love saying this word, and I
don't even know what it means.
Yeah, I don't think that's what I said. We gotta beat them at their own game sometimes, because I don't even think they know what they're talking about.
Because I've been seeing all the people that he's been putting in these higher positions, like the secretary of all these departments, and they don't realize that they're DEI hires. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
yes. And what they try to describe, what they try to project as DEI, yes, they are actually living it out. Like, yes, the people you are hiring are not qualified. Now, I don't know. Y'all know I dropped a couple bars in this last year. Yeah. So the DEI was definitely earned, because when it comes to us, we gotta earn everything. We have to work twice as hard. Exactly. Right. At least twice. You said 10, right? So we gotta work extra hard just to get half as much. So we understand that DEI is not how they describe it. It's when all things are equal. When we have the same qualifications, then you give consideration to the person who has not had the opportunities in the past.
Right.
And that's really what DEI is. But what they're doing, they're hiring people that are unqualified, unvetted, and really, quite frankly, unserious too. Yes. They don't even know some of the jobs that they're going for.
I've watched these hearings, and they can't even answer basic, simple questions about the department that they're going to be the head.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about the Department of Defense. That blows my mind. He could have named certain countries. Like
his stances on most things, like the women not being able to be in the military comment, I don't even know why he was able to be recommended.
Yeah.
That's so wrong.
And some of the pictures just scare me. I mean, we're talking about like the founder of WWE is the part of education.
Yeah. How do those two things correlate?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. running
the anti-vaxxer.
Yes. It's just.
So I'm not so when we talk about goals, maybe becoming a senator might be a goal. I don't know, because they're the ones who make these confirmations. But rest assured that the House of Representatives, we're speaking up and speaking out as we can. Like we did go down to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau when they started talking about terminating them and dismantling that organization. And that's the organization that actually protects consumers from banks who are trying to swindle folks out of money, essentially, predatory lenders, so things like that. They want to get rid of that. We went down to the Health and Human Services Agency to protest Mr. Anti-Vaxxer, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to say, like, look, we don't agree with this. And so
I don't like his voice. I don't like his voice. It's hard to get like I can't.
It's hard to follow somebody.
I know. I don't even listen, but like it's just like every time he talks, it's like, bro, what are you saying?
Some warm tea.
Some warm tea. Yeah, some warm tea should help. Some water. Right.
Something got to clear that. So I feel you.
Yes. Yeah. But also, so I had a question. So I want to like ask you a question. This is a personal question about about Congress. So I was talking to Ashley about this the other day. It was about like about the pay in Congress. We were talking about it. So I didn't know this. You guys usually have two residents?
You have to buy another house?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's so expensive.
And
How does that work?
No, because we were talking about it. I was like, so look, we researched you guys' salary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's enough. I think you guys need a raise.
Double.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
triple.
because I didn't notice any did you guys pay for you guys the flight to get there?
So that's the good thing. We don't have to pay for our travel. That is included. Good, we have a budget that pays for our travel. But if you, we essentially have to maintain 2 residences. Yeah.
Oh, that's salary?
That's just,
on that salary.
I mean,
and if you're living if you're bi-coastal, like if you're a New Yorker or you live in California, where the cost of living is insanely high. So let me just talk about this. Just to kind of dive into your question and give you some context. When we think about Congress, I told you I'm like one of 60, right? Black women to represent in this space. Historically, it's been who in this space?
Right.
Old white men, usually wealthy.
Yeah. Who have money.
They have money, right? And so it's this space that's not designed for us. It is designed for people, old, white, wealthy men, right? And
so about it like that.
Yeah, and so and when we think about the richest people in the world, who are they?
Old white men.
Old white men. So I say that to make you think. They have been controlling the game. They have been making the laws and drafting the legislation that benefits them. So your participation, your involvement, you coming into this space is so essential to our success. People don't try to take things away from you that don't have value. So when people are talking about making voting harder, there's a reason for that. When they discourage you or dissuade you from voting, there's a reason for that. And it's because they want to maintain control of the power switches that run this institution. It wasn't until Speaker Pelosi, and shame on me, I don't know the exact date, but there wasn't even a women's bathroom in the Congressional floor. There wasn't a women's bathroom until
where the black woman was.
So for over a century, probably 2 centuries, there was no place. The women had to go down the hall. I don't know if y'all saw Hidden Figures.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, running all across the street.
That was real. So when we think about the institutions and why they are set up the way that they are, and why the wealth distribution is the way that it is, that is largely the reason why. So I don't. I just think it's for us when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have to remind folks, we belong here.
Right.
We absolutely belong here, and while we're here, we don't have time to play. We got to make sure that we are pushing the envelope and making sure that we are demanding the things not only that we need, but what we deserve.
Yeah, and I have one more thing though, because we talked a lot about this on our podcast ever since the election. We kind of want your thoughts though, about Miss Harris. She is Black History too. Miss Harris is Black History too.
Yes.
But what are your thoughts on? I know she lost the election, but we say we talk about it all the time. She didn't lose. She is Black History. She made history. Just MVP. Miss
Vice
President. I love Vice President Harris, and I have had some opportunities to sit down with her. There are a group of friends in Congress who she invited us to her office the week before she was leaving, just to stay, when I rock with y'all my peeps, y'all the next generation coming up, and so she has a very near and dear and special place in my heart. She was one of the first speakers that I was able to bring to the county party dinner that we had. Yes, so our connection is deep, and I don't think she lost. I think that the country is the one who lost.
Yes.
She said that all the time.
I say that all the time.
She said she didn't lose.
Yeah.
America lost.
Yeah, America lost.
Yes.
America is the one who lost. And so, but she's good. I know that, she is a fighter. She is resilient. She is resourceful. As you said, she is a history maker, but she is one who, when I was nervous about her speaking at the dinner, she was very down to earth, and she was like, girl, you got this. And she, she often talked about her mom, making sure that she instilled in her, yes, you are the first, but make sure you aren't the last. And she lives that out. And so much respect to her. And so I think that that's another takeaway, that even when it looks like we are losing, there's a lesson in the loss. And so we just got to look for the lessons, the things that we could have done better, could have done differently, and we're learning from that, right? So no losses, only lessons.
Yes.
And that is it, though. But can we just give another round of applause?
This is so much fun. I enjoyed y'all.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on our 4th episode of the podcast. Please tune in later.